Confidence is often misunderstood. Most people think it's something that arrives when the stars align, when you've achieved enough, prepared enough, or finally feel ready. But waiting for confidence to magically appear is like standing at a cold fireplace and demanding heat without putting in the wood. You don't wait for confidence. You create it. The biggest myth around confidence is that it's emotional, that it's something you either feel or don't. But the truth is far more empowering. Confidence is a decision, a choice, a conscious act of courage in the face of uncertainty. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Every confident person you admire has made a decision, not once, but repeatedly, to back themselves even when fear was present. Think about this. How many times have you known what you needed to do, but waited until you felt more sure? How often have you paused, hesitated, or played small because the feeling wasn't there yet? That moment, that pause, is where the confident and the timid part ways. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's moving through fear with intention. Making a decision means you don't wait for a permission. You don't wait for approval. You don't wait for the moment to feel perfect. You claim it. You take the first step even when your voice shakes and your heart pounds. Because deep down, you've already decided who you are, and you've decided what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Hesitation, doubt, playing small. What's powerful about seeing confidence as a decision is that it puts the control back in your hands. You're not a victim of your emotions. You're not at the mercy of external validation. You don't need someone else to tell you're enough because you've already made the call. You've decided to show up no matter what. When you treat confidence as a feeling, you become reactive. You're constantly scanning your environment for cues. Do they like me? Am I doing this right? What if I fail? But when you treat confidence as a decision, you become proactive. You walk into the room and decide to lead. You take the stage and decide to own it. You enter the conversation and decide to be heard. And here's the paradox. Once you start deciding to be confident, the feeling eventually follows. The more often you choose confidence, the more natural it becomes. It's like a muscle. The first few reps are shaky, awkward, even painful. But keep going, and soon that decision becomes second nature. You stop asking, can I do this? And start saying, watch me. You'll begin to see it in your posture. You'll notice it in your tone. You'll hear it in the way you speak about your vision, your goals, your worth. Confidence becomes your default mode. Not because you always feel 100% ready, but because you've conditioned yourself to act in spite of uncertainty. You've trained your mind to move first and manage doubt later. Of course, this doesn't mean you never feel fear again. Fear is part of growth. But the difference is that you've shifted your relationship with it. Fear no longer dictates your decisions because you are in the driver's seat. You're no longer negotiating with your doubts. You've already made up your mind. The decision is done. And the decision is you will rise. This shift in perspective changes everything. It means you don't have to wait 10 years, lose 30 pounds, earn 6 figures, or get another degree before you start showing up the most confident version of yourself. You can start today, right now, simply by deciding that you're done living small, that you're done hiding, that you're done letting your feelings run the show. Confidence isn't reserved for the fearless. It's reserved for the decided. Those who say, even if I'm nervous, I'm doing it anyway. Those who say, I choose to trust myself today, even if my voice trembles. Those who say, I will not be held back by a temporary emotion. Once you understand that confidence is yours to claim, not something you have to earn, everything changes. You stop waiting for the world to approve of you. You stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect. You stop outsourcing your power. Because confidence at its core isn't about being the loudest or the strongest or the best. It's about being the one who chooses to show up over and over again, regardless of how you feel. Confidence isn't built in a single leap. It's built brick by brick, win by win, decision by decision. And the foundation of unshakable confidence is self-trust. The quiet but powerful belief that you can count on yourself, that when it matters, you will show up. But that trust isn't given. It's earned, and it's earned through repetition. Through small wins that reinforce the messaging, I follow through. I deliver. I do what I say I'm going to do. People often chase big victories, assuming that confidence only comes from huge achievements. The job promotion, the fitness transformation, the business breakthrough. But the truth is, those milestones are built on the back of daily disciplines, invisible efforts, and what look like insignificant choices. The small win is where it all begins. And stacking them consistently is what turns fragile confidence into something unbreakable. When you wake up and keep your word to yourself, that's a win. When you show up to the gym even when you don't feel like it, that's a win. When you have that hard conversation, finish that project, keep that promise, those are wins. And they may not look like much to the outside world, but inside, they're massive. Every time you follow through, you send a signal to your minding. I am someone who follows through. I am someone I can rely on. This process is how self-respect is built. It's how you shift from questioning your abilities to owning your power. Because with each small win, you quiet the inner critic. You prove that fear was wrong. You prove that hesitation was unnecessary. You don't need to fake confidence when your actions are backing it up daily. You just need to stack those moments over and over until doubt has no more space to breathe. The problem for most people isn't a lack of potential. It's a lack of momentum. They keep waiting for motivation. They wait until they feel like it. But momentum doesn't come from waiting. It comes from doing. And the easiest way to get momentum is to collect small victories. Don't aim for perfect days. Aim for progress. Win the morning. Win the next hour. Win the next decision. String those together and suddenly you're on fire. Small wins are also manageable. They're within reach. They give you daily targets, things you can control. You can't always control outcomes, but you can control your effort. You can control whether or not you show up, whether or not you hit your commitments, whether or not you keep moving. That control becomes a source of empowerment. It becomes the ground beneath your feet when everything else feels uncertain. This process doesn't just build confidence, it rebuilds you. It changes the way you view yourself. It teaches you that you don't have to rely on willpower alone. You can rely on the identity you're forming in your repeated actions. You go from someone who tries to someone who executes, from someone who wants to change to someone who is changing right now through tangible proof of progress. Self-trust is a relationship, and just like any relationship, it's built through consistent behavior, not empty promises. If you constantly break your own word, skip the gym, delay the work, ignore the plan, you slowly chip away at your own trust. You stop believing yourself. But when you start stacking wins, even small ones, that relationship strengthens, you begin to walk differently, talk differently. Because now you're acting from a foundation of trust, not insecurity. You have a screwed up life. The world doesn't reward intention. It rewards action. And the people with the most inner strength aren't the ones who never struggled. They're the ones who kept showing up day after day, decision after decision, win after win. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic, but it works. It works every single time. You don't need a breakthrough to become confident. You need consistency. You need small wins that accumulate slowly but surely into a version of yourself you can believe in. And every time you honor a commitment, every time you choose growth over comfort, you add another brick to the structure. Eventually, that structure becomes unshakable. Not because you've arrived, but because you've proven again and again that you're not going anywhere. Confidence isn't just born in your mind. It's activated through your body. One of the most overlooked truths about human behavior is this: the way you move changes the way you think. Your physiology isn't just a reflection of your inner state. It's a tool to create it. The body leads, the mind follows. And if you want to feel powerful, focused, unstoppable, it starts with how you carry yourself. Right now, not someday. People constantly wait for a mental shift before they act. They say, I'll show up more confidently once I feel better. Or, I'll speak up when I'm not so nervous. But what they miss is that the fastest, most effective way to feel different is to move different. Shift your posture, shift your energy, and suddenly your mental state begins to transform with it. Watch someone who feels defeated. Their shoulders slump forward, their gaze drops. Their breathing is shallow, their steps are slow. Now watch someone who's locked in, confident, owning their space. Their chest is open, their chin is up, their eyes are alert, their movements are decisive. The physical difference is undeniable, and so is the psychological one. You don't need to wait for your thoughts to catch up. You can step into that energy at will. You can embody it. Confidence is a state, and all states are created by three things: focus, language. Of those three, physiology is the quickest to shift. It's instant. You can jump out of your chair, breathe deeply, shake out your tension, take up space, and in less than a minute, you've disrupted the pattern of fear or doubt. You flip the switch because your brain is constantly reading signals from your body, and when those signals change, your emotional experience changes too. This is why athletes use rituals before competing. It's why performers warm up with specific body movements. It's why speakers jump backstage, pace, or stretch before hitting the stage. They're not just burning off nerves. They're changing their state. They're turning on confidence from the inside out. And if it works for them under pressure, it works for you in everyday life. You have access to this tool every moment of the day, but most people don't use it. They stay in states of anxiety, overwhelm, or self-doubt because they've conditioned their bodies to live there. They sit hunched at desks for hours. They breathe shallowly. They rarely move with power or energy. And as a result, their confidence dims, not because they lack potential, but because their physiology is broadcasting the wrong message. If you want to shift your confidence, start where you are. Physically. Stand up taller. Breathe like someone in control. Move with purpose. Speak with strength. Smile with conviction. These are not fake it tactics, they are physical truths. When your body aligns with confidence, your brain aligns with confidence. And when your brain gets the signal that you're every control, everything changes. Your decisions, your tone, your belief in yourself. And you don't have to be loud or extroverted to own your physiology. This isn't about being theatrical, it's about being intentional. Quiet confidence can be just as powerful. A calm, grounded presence, a stillness that radiates certainty. But even that stillness comes from physical awareness. It's a decision to be in your body, to root yourself in strength, rather than collapse into doubt. The more you practice aligning your body with the state you want, the more natural it becomes. It becomes your baseline, your default setting. You stop waiting to feel confident because you become the person who acts confidently, not by accident, by choice. And that choice starts the moment you wake up. How do you walk into a room? How do you shake a hand? How do you respond under stress? All of it is influenced by how you hold yourself. Your body is your leverage. It's your shortcut to power, to presence, to certainty. Most people are trying to talk themselves into confidence from a state of physical hesitation. But you don't talk your way into confidence. You move your way into it. When you take control of your physiology, you take control of your life. And that control gives you access to the clarity, courage, and command you've been waiting for. Doubt doesn't come from lack of ability. It comes from lack of action. It grows in silence and stillness, in the spaces where motion should be. It creeps in when you hesitate, lingers when you overthink, and multiplies every time you choose delay over doing. The longer you sit with it, the louder it gets. And soon, that doubt that started as a whisper becomes a scream that stops you from moving altogether. But doubt has a weakness. It can't survive in the presence of action. The mind loves certainty. It craves evidence. When you act, even a small way, you provide your brain with proof of, I'm capable. I'm moving forward. I can handle this. Doubt, on the other hand, thrives in the absence of that proof. If you're standing still doing nothing, over and analyzing, doubting becomes the dominant voice, not because it's telling the truth, but because it's the only voice speaking. Most people try to conquer doubt by thinking their way through it. They journal, meditate, read books, visualize, and wait for the right mindset to arrive before they act. But the problem with that is you're still inactive. You're still negotiating with the voice that says, not yet. Confidence isn't found in the perfect mental state. It's forged in movement. Clarity isn't achieved by waiting. It's earned by taking steps. Your brain believes what you show it through repeated behavior. The power of action isn't just in the results it creates. It's in the identity it reinforces. Every time you act, you remind yourself, I am not someone who gives in to fear. Even when you fail, the action teaches resilience. It tells your subconscious, I don't freeze when things get hard. I keep going. And over time, this repetition, the version of you that doubt cannot stick to. It's not that the voice of doubt disappears. It's that it becomes irrelevant. You've trained yourself to act anyway. Fear and doubt aren't enemies. They're signals. They show you exactly where your edge is, where growth is trying to happen. But the only way to move past them is to walk straight through. You don't eliminate fear by wishing away. You eliminate it by proving to yourself that you can handle the thing you're afraid of. That proof is only found in experience, in doing, in choosing motion over stagnation, even when it's uncomfortable. Consistent action is the antidote to paralysis. You don't need massive, life-altering moves every day. You just need progress. You need momentum. One call rep, one conversation, one uncomfortable step forward. That's how confidence grows. Not in the giant moments, but in the daily ones. Because consistent action is what rewires your brain to stop expecting failure and start anticipating results. Every action you take shifts your focus. Instead of sitting in your head, spinning around in worst-case scenarios, you're now engaged in a real-world process. You're moving forward, adjusting, learning. And in that process, doubt no longer holds the same weight. It can't stop someone who's already in motion. It may still whisper, but it no longer decides. People often think they need courage first, and then they'll take the leap. But courage doesn't come before the action. It comes from the action. It's the result of pushing through resistance, not the prerequisite. Every time you choose to act while afraid, you build the muscle that allows you to do it again. You build endurance. And over time, you realize something profound. You don't need to feel fearless to be powerful. You just need to move. Consistency is what separates fleeting motivation from lasting transformation. Anyone can act once. Anyone can push through for a day. But those who win, those who rise, those who lead, they're the ones who decide that motion is not optional. They show up when it's hard. They act when it's unclear. They build momentum, and then they protect it with everything they've got. The key is to make action a non-negotiable, not because it always leads to instant success, but because it always leads to growth. You have a screwed up life. Even when it's messy, even when it's uncertain, even when you fail, you are still ahead of where you were before you moved. And that progress is what silences doubt more effectively than any mantra, affirmation, or belief. Confidence becomes unstoppable when it is rooted in something greater than yourself. When your mission goes beyond your personal fears, doubts, and insecurities, your drive takes over. You stop obsessing over how you're perceived and start focusing on what you're here to do. Self-consciousness fades when purpose takes center stage. When you are fueled by contribution, you step into a power that doesn't need validation. Because it's not about ego, it's about impact. Most people struggle with confidence because they are stuck inside their own heads. They analyze their flaws, fix it on their insecurities, and constantly measure themselves against others. That inward spiral is where fear multiplies. It's where self-doubt thrives. But when your attention shifts outward, when your energy is aimed at lifting others, solving problems, creating change, everything inside you recalibrates. You become less concerned with how you look and more driven by what you can give. Serving a higher purpose doesn't require you to be a saint or a savior. It simply means that you operate with meaning behind your actions. You have a why, a reason that matters more than your fear. Whether it's your family, your clients, your team, your audience, your community, having someone or something to serve gives you a reason to show up when it's hard. It gives you a reason to speak even when your voice shakes, to lead even when you're unsure, to move forward even when the path is unclear. Purpose answers you when storms hit, and they always do. It's not talent or knowledge alone that keeps you standing. It's conviction. It's the understanding that what you're doing matters. That people are depending on you. That someone out there needs what only you can give. That belief gives you strength on the days when confidence miles away. Because when you're serving a mission, hesitation becomes secondary. The mission becomes the focus. There's an undeniable energy that radiates from people who operate with purpose. You can see it in their eyes, hear it in their voice, feel it in their presence. They may not have all the answers, but they carry certainty. Not because they never doubt themselves, because their intention is locked in. They've chosen to care more about making a difference than being perfect. And that shift alone changes everything about how they carry themselves. Confidence that's built on appearance, applause, or approval will always be fragile. It rises and falls with the opinions of others. But confidence that's rooted in purpose, in service, becomes unshakable because it's not about being the best in the room. It's about being the one who shows up. It's about being the one who steps in when others shrink back. It's about being the one who answers the call. Purpose gives context to your pain. It turns every failure into a lesson, every mistake into material, every hardship into something useful. When you serve something greater than yourself, even your struggles become meaningful. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how can this serve someone else? That question unlocks power. It transforms victimhood into leadership. You were not put here to live a small, self-contained life. You were built for connection, for contribution, for legacy. Confidence doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in the context of responsibility. When people are counting on you, when your voice matters, when your actions ripple outward, you rise differently. You carry yourself differently. You choose courage not for yourself alone, but for the ones you're committed to serving. This is why the most confident leaders are often the most humble, because their certainty doesn't come from being the smartest in the room. It comes from knowing they're aligned with something real, something valuable, something that will outlast them. Their work isn't about feeding their ego. It's about fulfilling their calling. And when that's the source of your drive, you tap into a version of yourself that fear can't touch. Confidence built on purpose doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be true. It needs to be connected to something that matters. When you wake up knowing you're part of something bigger than your problems, your failures stop defining you. Your past stops limiting you. You stop looking inward and start reaching outward. And in doing so, you discover that the power you've been searching for was never found in being impressive. It was always found in being useful. Unstoppable confidence isn't gifted. It's built one decision, one action, one commitment at a time. It begins when you stop waiting for permission and decide to believe in yourself, even when the fear is loud. It grows every time you keep your word, every time you stack a small win, and every time you prove to yourself that you're capable of showing up no matter what. Your body becomes your greatest ally, a tool to unlock energy, shift your mindset, and step into strength even before you feel ready. And when doubt tries to creep in, you don't argue with it. You silence it through motion, through consistency, through doing what others only think about. Because doubt dies in the face of proof, and you are the one creating that proof every single day. But the deepest confidence, the kind that nothing can shake, comes from knowing you're here for more than just yourself. It comes from serving a purpose greater than fear. When your mission matters more than your image, you stop shrinking. You stop hesitating. You step up. You take the mic. You move the needle. Because it's not about being perfect. It's about being useful. Confidence doesn't arrive fully formed. You become it through intention, through effort, through vision, and through repetition. Not someday, not when the fear is gone, but today, right now, this moment, this decision, this version of you, ready or not, is enough to begin.